Around these parts, I'm known as the Fragrance Apprentice. Tonight, I'm out catching bad guys. In fact, tonight I'm after the baddest fragrance on the planet. He goes under the name Tobacco Oud. This cat's a real controversial kid. Some people love him, some people hate him. But he's a wanted man, because he's been up to no good. So, let's you and I today, let's ask this cat a few questions, huh? There, see? Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Tobacco. So it's no secret that if there's one thing that I love more than fragrance, and I know that's sacrilege, but don't worry, I absolutely adore fragrance, it's film. It's filmmaking. It's no secret that I am training right now to be a professional filmmaker, and one of the high points in the history of filmmaking was the age of film noir, which heavily influenced me, and specifically heavily influenced my attitude towards lighting a scene. Just the way that the shadows were so beautiful and so artistic. There's something really quite magical and mysterious about that period of filmmaking. Tobacco Oud, to me, is actually very much like a film noir piece. It's got its real dark realms, it's got a lot of mystery to it, and has a lot of different layers, but fundamentally is actually quite simple. I discovered Tobacco Oud just over a year ago, and I didn't actually know that it was called Tobacco Oud. I didn't know what it was called actually. I just had the smell to go off of, and I found it absolutely completely engaging. Of course, there are similarities to this and the discontinued Amber Absolute, and of course we will get into that, but I personally think it can stand on its own. However, there were many critics of Tobacco Oud. Many people didn't like it. Many people found it a sort of a mistread, a step backwards for the House of Tom Ford, after they'd created something that most people considered a masterpiece with Amber Absolute. And I can see that, and I can see the disappointment. And not just that, but I think that the name Tobacco Oud is false. It should be called Tobacco Amber, or Amber Tobacco. And I think that also has confused a few people about what they think they're going to be getting into with this smell. Would you like this is actually quite a complex question to ask with Tobacco Oud, because, as I say, I think that this should not be called Tobacco Oud. I think it should be called Amber Tobacco, or Tobacco Amber. If you liked Amber Absolute but you wanted something sweeter, something a bit more simpler, and something a lot more straightforward, but still having that pungent, dark, ashy smell, definitely something that you could look to. You want something spicy but sweet, something that's masculine, something that's very daring, something that's very rich, and something that not everybody's going to wear. This is definitely, again, something that you should be looking at. And if you want to make a statement with your fragrance, if you want to smell expensive, this is definitely something that you could look towards. Whether you love it or you hate it, this does not smell like every other designer fragrance. This doesn't smell like everything that you'd find in a regular fragrance shop. This does smell different. It does smell unique. For whatever reason, it does have those qualities. So if you want to smell expensive, if you want to smell as though you've spent money on fragrance, Tobacco Oud is definitely something that you should be looking at. When it comes to presentation, Tom Ford Tobacco Oud mimics the general design of the Private Blend collection, but this time with a black, grey and silver colour scheme, which I think is extraordinarily beautiful. This is of course to mark it as different from the normal private blend line and stating that it's part of the Oud private collection. There's something about grey that is so sophisticated and beautiful and stands the test of time. Christian Dior's favourite colour was grey. In fact, even with a lot of the modern releases of fashion by Christian Dior, you can still see that that concept is still alive and well. I think it really does suit the mysteriousness of this bottle in particular, and Oud wood. Oud Flow is a different story, but I'll get to that in another review. One of the design attributes that I love from the Tom Ford brand is the boxes that they come in. It's almost like a pedestal rather than a box, and the way that that just slots in, and it's actually very secure in there, really projects what the Tom Ford house is all about, which is of course stature, elevation. Voila. So with regards to the presentation, I would have to give it a 10 out of 10, definitely. So on to the overall scent, and this is where problems start to arise. One of the things that people didn't like is its similarity to Amber Absolute and that of Sahara Noir when it came out, and by that time, not just that, but Tom Ford were pretty late to the Oud party, as it were. So a lot of people didn't appreciate that maybe it was cashing in on the Oud trend a bit too late. It's people's preference to Amber Absolute. So with all of these discrepancies and all of these issues, people were reluctant to take it for just as it was, without making a lot of different comparisons to it. One of the other critiques of it is that it is a very linear fragrance, and there's only really two stages to it. So the first stage I call the Amber Flashback, and what I mean by that is that when I smelt this, and when many people smelt this, they got a real flashback of Amber Absolute. You get a tremendous amount of amber and flaky tobacco leaves. There's also a gourmand quality to it, as in it's very sweet, has a very incredible sweetness. It's not listed in the notes, but I would have suggested cardamom. Definitely kind of smoothens it out and gives it the more sort of mellow vibe than Amber Absolute, which is very much in your face. I really like this. I like the ballsiness of it, I like the harshness of it, I like the in-your-face attitude, but also that sweetness that sort of just reels it in and keeps it mellow. But be warned, if you're wearing this casually, there is some people who are just not prepared for this and who will find it very animalic, to the point of fecal. But along with the ambery smell and the harsh sort of tobacco and the spiciness of it, I think it actually works. For me personally, it does work. There's not a lot of notes in here. There's not too much going on, but what is going on is loud and brash. This brings me to the second stage, which is not too dissimilar to the first, and that is the smoky sweet tobacco. At this point the tobacco becomes very rich, and the amber quality comes down. It's actually very smoky, and almost to the point of incensey. Some could say that, and this is me personally, that they could get a sort of a vanilla / tonka vibe from it throughout the whole fragrance. And I would say yes, there is something that has sort of, not throughout all of it, but certain parts of it, a definite gourmand hit. But all of this is very warming, very smoky, very spicy, which creates absolute mystery. There is definitely a mysterious quality to it. It doesn't really let you in a sort of a way, and it isn't what you see is what you get. I could imagine that somebody who is very sort of very mysterious, keeps his hands to his chest, or keeps his cards to his chest rather. Somebody who is definitely comfortable to be around, but you know that there is more to him, to wear this kind of a smell. Or with regards to the film noir, a cynical old detective or cop who's seen it all, and has now sort of become upset with the world. You know, who's actually, you know, has seen some things in his life. It's that kind of a vibe that you get from Tom Ford Tobacco Oud. I would give the overall scent a 9 out of 10. It could have just a tiny bit more, but with what it has, I think it's fine. As you'd expect with Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud, in performance this does not disappoint, not one iota. Projection is out there. It's I've coined a bit of a phrase. It is beast mode, but I'd call it a domesticated beast. And what I mean by that is that it's loud, it's proud, it's out there, it's definitely all-encompassing, but it's also strict in its chaos, in a sort of way. It's out, but to a point. It doesn't fill a room, it doesn't take over a party or a gathering, it won't take people out or anything like that, but it's there. But I wouldn't say it's obnoxious. People notice it and people know that it's there, but people have never really got offended by it, even if they don't like it. So I'd say a tamed beast when it comes to projection. Longevity, I think that for most people you could get a definite 8 hours plus. I'm lucky enough to get 12 plus every time, but it does have certain idiosyncrasies that I can imagine would not react so well to certain people's skin, but you're definitely going to get, you know, your money's worth. You're definitely going to get a full-bodied experience when it comes to performance with Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud. Projection, I'm going to give this a true 9 out of 10 because it is an absolute beast and it has got that perfect refinement to it. But I can imagine that to some people, and sometimes myself, I wish that it would, you know, maybe push a few people's buttons. And longevity, I'll be fair about it. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because I do think that with some of the notes and some of the elements, it might be a bit inconsistent for some, but it does have a true backbone towards it. My final say on Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud is that I personally love it. I really do. I think it's an absolutely stunning and unique fragrance. I understand that there have been a couple before it that are similar, and to some this may not be the peak of what this creation could be, but what I'd say is that I do enjoy fragrances that are explosive and crazy but have refinement. So if you're one of those types of people who enjoys the more crazy aspects of fragrance but they don't want to go too deep into the water, they want something that actually has, you know, a definite restriction to it and something that is actually wearable, this is what it's all about. It's the aroma of mystery, it's the aroma of intrigue, and there are some people who are going to actually find this very attractive and very enticing because of its daring nature and its daring element. So what I leave you with is to say, Tobacco Oud, this looks as though it's the beginning of a beautiful friendship.